All right, probability. Basically, the chance of something happening. So, on the document camera, I have the different probability concepts that this is going to kind of cover. So, we're going to start with sample spaces. So, all the things that can happen. For example, if I roll this dice, all the different things that can happen would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So, the sample space of rolling this die would be all 6 of those numbers. For simple events, we're going to move on to that in the next video and how you can calculate the probability of a simple event happening and use that probability to predict things in the future, and then also to compare two different simple events. And we'll do the same things with compound events where we predict and compare. But this video is mainly going to focus on sample spaces. Okay, so basically sample spaces, there's two different ways that we can represent sample spaces. Okay, two main ways. So a really common example of sample space would be you go to McDonald's and you want to choose a hamburger. I'll just put ham for hamburger. You can choose a chicken sandwich, or you can choose nuggets. Okay, and then along with that, you get to choose if you want fries, or sometimes they let you choose apple slices. And I basically want to know all of the possible outcomes of the sample space. Okay, so we can organize this, all the different possibilities, into a tree. And tree diagram is a very common way that you'll see sample spaces represent. So tree diagram. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you do a tree diagram is we want to pick your first choice or your first event, which in this case is going to be your main entree or your main food. So let's say that we choose, and I'm going to abbreviate H for hamburger, C for chicken, and N for nuggets. Okay, so that's the first event. Then with those I can choose a side. So I might choose a hamburger and then fries, and a hamburger and apple slices. Okay, then with chicken I can choose fries, chicken with apple slices, chicken nuggets with fries, or nuggets with apple slices. And that's going to give me all the possible combinations. So the key here is if you look at these last branches, that last row is going to tell you how many different outcomes you have. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I know that there are 6 possible outcomes. Okay, if I wanted to list these out, which is also another common way you would see in a list. Okay, we can use a tree diagram or a list. We don't want to look at all these choices right here and just kind of randomly say, hamburger and apple slices, chicken with apple slices, oh, chicken with fries, nuggets with fries. You're going to probably forget something. So we want it to be very, very organized. Okay, so a tree diagram helps us do that. And then from the tree diagram, we can make our organized list. So I'm looking up here, hamburger with French fries. Then I look at the next branch. So that was a hamburger with apple slices. Chicken with French fries. Chicken with apple slices. And I'm going to go down the tree diagram like that. And I'm going to see in my list that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different possible outcomes or combinations. Okay, so those are basically just the way that we represent a sample space. You might also see the tree diagram, instead of going like this horizontal, you might see it vertical going up and down. So you would see your first choice across the top like that, and then from that it would come down to fries, apple slices, fries, apple slices, fries, apple slices. But either way, you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 branches or 6 possible outcomes. Okay, so that's a little overview. To see what a question might look like that has to do with this, you might see a question looking like this. Zoom in so you can see it. Everything is organized in a table, and it says which list shows all the different ice cream cone combinations you can choose. So it's very similar to the example I just showed you. It has vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry, and then you choose waffle or sugar. And so they have all these listed out. What you would want to do more than likely is make a tree diagram. So say like vanilla with waffle cone, vanilla with sugar cone. Chocolate with waffle cone, chocolate with sugar cone. Strawberry with waffle, strawberry with sugar. And then you can see which of these has all those combinations. You can count and I'm going to see that there's going to be 6 possible outcomes. And so you can also look in the list and see which ones are 6 possible outcomes. The other way I'm going to challenge you to go is backwards. So if you look at this tree diagram, okay, and so H heads and T for tails, so I'm sure you can probably guess that you'd be flipping a coin. Okay, and so I could ask, how many times are you flipping the coin? So kind of think about that. If I look here, there's one event, right? I flipped heads or tails. Then after that, I flipped this again. So I could land on heads or tails, heads or tails. And then after that, I flipped it again. So I flipped it how many times? 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, so this could be the representing tossing a coin 3 times. And so you need to be able to interpret how tree diagrams work and how they look. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You just want to list out all the possible outcomes is what a tree diagram is all about.